Bienvenidas, bienvenidos a esta nueva edición del Festival Internacional de Cine de Mar del Plata, la número 36. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos, y estamos aquí para presentar ahora Hygiène social, que es una película que forma parte de la sección Autoras y Autores. Es una película de Denis Côté, que viene realizando ya cerca de 16 películas, si no me equivoco, a lo largo de su recorrido como realizador. Esta película es una película que se estrenó recientemente, es una película maravillosa, una película hecha de esencia del cine, que tiene mucha comicidad, unas actuaciones impecables y una distancia que conmueve. Pero por sobre todo es una película que es libre, es desafiante y es lúdica. Tenemos el placer de estar aquí con Denis Côté, así que agradecemos muchísimo que nos esté acompañando en esta edición del festival. Denis.
Hello, everybody.
Denis, vamos a hablar un poco en torno a la película, y por sobre todo quería preguntarte algo que cuando uno mira la película hay algo sorprendente de cómo creás comicidad, como si de algo serio pudiera desprenderse una comicidad quizás desde meras descripciones o desde una puesta en escena, quizás desde el rechazo a cierto realismo, o a un modo de expresión declamatoria, ¿no? Y quería saber si esto es algo que ya estaba desde la escritura, desde la concepción de la película, o es algo que fue emergiendo al momento de realizarla.
Interesting question. It's a very bizarre project. I was on vacation in a faraway country, and I was only writing without any intention of making a film, okay? It was just dialogues, monologues. I was sitting in a cafe in Sarajevo, Bosnia, and I was just writing these funny exchanges between people. And I didn't have the intention to make a film. So the only thing I knew, I guess I knew it would be funny because I was deeply intoxicated by reading a Swiss author called Robert Walser. And he is usually funny, I would say. If you never read his books, you should. He's very special. He's always writing about observing things from everyday life. And I would say it's quite funny, but I'm not sure my intention was to make a comedy because I've never made one. So I was kind of afraid to touch comedy myself because when you always do drama, comedy can be very scary. But slowly I was writing these dialogues and I knew it was becoming like a bit like a farce. And I didn't want to make a farce. I knew it was comical, but at the same time, I wanted it to be a bit abstract about the notion of distance, about the notion of how do we talk to each other in modern life? What kind of words should we use nowadays to sound respectful and elegant, to have a special social hygiene? So of course, I didn't want to be that funny, but it became funny. And now that the film is over, some people see it as a comedy. I try not to say it's a comedy, but obviously we are stuck in between. And I think it has to do with the formal aspect of the film. We have these characters right in the middle of very large fields, and they say very weird stuff to each other. So by definition, it's funny, but I'm not sure I tried to be funny. So I'm still looking for the good way to talk about my own film, as you can see. You have to help me.
Bueno, en esta conversación vamos a ir hablando un poco y vos también nos tenés que ayudar. Pero en realidad es Pensaba, recién hablabas de esto, ¿no? De cómo fue surgiendo la idea y el trabajo, ¿no? Desde la escritura. Pensaba también en el trabajo de dirección de actores que tiene esta película, que también creo es bastante diversa a otras películas tuyas. Los actores son increíbles. Y acá tienen un desafío muy grande, que están prácticamente como medio de estatuas, quietos, pero agitan los brazos y usan la palabra, ¿no? De una manera muy, muy vehemente, y desde ahí se va resolviendo todo, que es algo muy, muy único, muy, a su vez es muy clásico, muy teatral y muy único y muy desafiante. Eh, ¿Vos conocías a estos actores de antes? ¿Esta puesta en escena también estaba como desde la escritura?
Well, you need to understand that when I was looking at everything I wrote, I didn't know if it was theater, if it was literature, or if it could become a film. And you need to know that all this was written 6 years ago. So I took that material and I left it in a drawer somewhere, and I never had the intention to make a film. So it really happened during the pandemic in May 2020. Some actors came to me and they said, "Do you have something that you never directed, that you wrote?" And I forgot about that project. And then I told the actress in the film playing Solveig, I told her, I said, "Look, I wrote something 6 years ago and I never read it since. If you want, you can read it. And if you like it, tell me. But I think it's a little different from everything I do." And she said, "It's magical. It's amazing. We have to do it." So the problem we had is that we could not meet because of the pandemic. And there are these incredibly long dialogues. So I said, "Look, I'm going to trust you, but we need to work with theater actors. And you need to be able to play for 10, 12, 14 minutes. So we called theater people, and they're all famous here. Half of them I knew beforehand, and the other ones I didn't know them. And all we could do was trust each other. We did not even use Zoom, because Zoom in May 2020 was not in fashion too much. So I said, "Look, I can't be with you. I can't direct you. So take those dialogues and do something with it, And when we're going to shoot, let's hope it's going to be okay." So they said, "Please just tell us what kind of tone you want us to use." I said, "As you know, in French Canada, we don't speak like the French from France. So we didn't know if we had to use French from France or French from Quebec. So I said, use something in between, something very elegant, something very sophisticated, but not from France." And that was the only thing I told them. So the day of the shoot, I would just sit in the field and hope it would be funny and great. And they were incredible. So now that I screen the film, I usually say a big cliche. I say, it's their film. Somehow it's my writing, but what they did with it is just so funny, so unique. But because it was made in a context of pandemic, it was very hard for me to control everything. And usually on my other films, I control everything. I change all the words. I look at the rhythm. I'm very control freak. But for this film, I'm not even sure this film should be a film of mine. It's like an accident. I never thought I would make that film somewhere in my career. And today it exists, and I feel like saying that it's the actor's film. It's not mine. I don't know if it makes sense, but it's a bizarre film to have a relationship with. It's as if I'm not even the creator of that film. It's what they did is so incredible that I forget that I wrote it.
Y son increíbles, pero sí que, bueno, pienso, se notan como marcas tuyas muy fuertes en la película, eso está. Y pensaba, por ejemplo, además de la parte de actuaciones, la música que aparece, Lebanon Hanover, creo que es el grupo, ¿no? Cómo irrumpe en un momento, cómo revitaliza, resignifica lo que está pasando también, cómo, sí, provoca un quiebre en la película y además un estado también en quienes estamos como observadores, ¿no? Mirándola y participando de este universo. Quería preguntarte sobre tu relación con la música en esta película y en general en tu cine, de dónde viene y cómo es, porque se vuelve muy importante.
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with music and cinema, you know. If you've seen many of my films, you can see that I don't use music too much. I always feel that when you use music on any kind of image, it works. It works. You just film anything, you put music, it works. So I don't I don't use music too much because I'm afraid I'm using music as a cheap thing. So I always try to make musical films, but not use music, which is very different. So for this film, I was also afraid that I was filming theater. I was also afraid that I was filming literature. So I was looking for filmic ideas. So when you watch the film, I have allusions to Facebook. I have allusions to present time, to old times. I'm trying to create a big no man's land. So it's not theater, it's not literature, and it tries to be more cinema. So at some point, you need to use surprises, and music in this film is a surprise. So you have the use of music when the young girl is dancing at some point, and at the end, you have a use of music that is very cliche. It's right in your face. It's very so music is used as an accessory, not something I believe in. And the choice of Lebanon and over. When you see the film, go watch all the videos from this band. Okay, they are from Greece and Great Britain. They are the ultimate Gothic band. Okay, and when I say Gothic, they are extremely first degree. When they sing, it's so cheaply romantic. The lyrics are ridiculously simple and dramatic, but it's so good at the same time. So I thought this music fit with my character, Antonin, so well. This guy thinks he's the center of the world and he's like to be emotional about everything. So it matches so well that song. And that song is called Kiss Me Until My Lips Fall Off. It's too much. It's so big. It's so too much that I thought it was a funny use of music without being just music for being music. So that's what I would say. Right now, I'm editing a new film, and we're trying not to use music too much because it's too easy to use music. So I like your question about this relationship because it's really about love and hate.
Pensaba, saliendo de esto ya de la música, y pensando en la película y en el universo que propone, como que hay en el mundo que propone Hygiène social, en este mundo que construís ahí en medio de las montañas, entre las nubes, ¿no? Que van y vienen, que es maravilloso el trabajo con la luz o las sombras que van provocando. Pensaba en un mundo como muy único donde pareciera que no hay ni corrección política ni incorrección política, donde los comentarios que van surgiendo entre los personajes tienen una mordacidad muy precisa también, donde de alguna manera también se va poniendo o haciendo una crítica a ideas, ¿no? Grandes ideas de la fidelidad, de la dignidad del trabajo, de tener deudas, como grandes ideas que son difíciles de plantear en un mundo moderno, queda como de modé en cierto punto. Y quería preguntarte en ese aspecto, el personaje de Antoine, que es encantador, como un canto a la libertad, que ¿cómo lo trabajaste a ese protagonista o a ese personaje particularmente?
Yeah, I think you're going to be surprised about this answer, but one of the main inspiration for this film, even in 2015 when I wrote it, was my relationship with social media. And social medias in 2015 were practically the same as they are now in 2021. People are talking to each other in such a simple, fast, vulgar, direct way. And there's such a gap between how we communicate with social medias and how we are unable to communicate with real life, that already when I was writing that, I was influenced by that. So my idea was to make sure that these people in real life, they need to communicate in the most sophisticated way, but they have to insult each other. They have to say very intimate things in the most direct way possible, but at the same time, elegantly and sophisticatedly, you know? So I really think Facebook was my inspiration. So you have this guy who is he? Is he my alter ego? I don't think so, but he's this dandy man. He's the only man in the story, and he's surrounded by all these women, and he thinks he can get away with everything. He thinks he can be rude, he thinks he can be charming, he thinks he can have anything he wants by using nice words and nice formulas. But what I really like is that all these women around him, they don't move. They're just waiting for him like this. It's like women waiting for men to grow up. And I wouldn't say the film is about toxic masculinity, but I think it says something about a certain category of guys who are struggling now in 2021 to be guys, to be macho, to have all these privileges as guys. And I feel that all the women are just waiting there for men to grow up. I think that's a subtext of the film. I think it's funny. I don't think the dialogues are so meaningful. I don't think they are too profound. People are trying to communicate, but they're also trying to fill in gaps, as if the gap between men and women, between people, is impossible to fill nowadays in real life. We always use different means of communication, texting, messenger, Facebook, and there we say exactly what we want to say in a very poor manner, poor way. So this film was imagined as something that is not too heavy, something that is funny, but it's like a celebration of elegant communication between human beings. Maybe it sounds a little cynical, but it was a pleasure to write those sophisticated exchanges between human beings. It's not very complicated, you know. So, yeah, does it make sense?
Sí, muchísimo, creo. Por lo menos me parece que sí. Ahora que lo expones así y de ese modo, claro que sí. Y se agradece mucho también el modo, esto que decís, en que se comunican, de este modo sofisticado también. Inclusive aunque las cosas que se estén diciendo por ahí sean como muy, muy duras entre ellos, pero es increíble y todo el tiempo parece que la estuvieran pasando increíble al momento de realizar la película. No sé cómo habrá sido el momento del rodaje con todos, bueno, estos impedimentos que hubo y también rodar al aire libre. Supongo que debe haber sido un poco complicado, pero da la sensación de que se lo pasaron muy bien a la vez.
Well, it was the pandemic, but every country was different. So August 2020 here was quite low. we were thinking that the pandemic was over, so it was a little different. And because the film is made outside the system, it was made without any money. The actors were not paid. They all agreed to work with me for free. So we had no rules. So we were outlaws. We were really outside the system. So we were only a small team of 5 people. And we went to find all these places to shoot, and we hoped that nobody would catch us. But every landowner catched us, and they came to us and they said, "What are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. So it was such a great way to make a film in complete freedom and liberty. It's a small video camera. We can do the shots like 7 times if we want. But the actors were so great and they had so much fun that I think those scenes were made only 3 times each scene. And yes, of course, there's a real couple in the film. Antonin and the girl playing his sister in the film are a real life couple, so it was easier to work with them. Yeah, because you need to understand that I make these big films like Ghost Town Anthology, $2 million. And these films are made in the system with a lot of rules. And then I take my revenge and I go and I make these very small films like Social Hygiene. So that's how I feel completely free. It's like my revenge over the system. And when the film plays, I don't know, in Berlinale or whatever, and the budget was $20,000, it's like a personal revenge against those big films, the big rules of the industry and everything. And those small films, they give me a lot of strength to make the big one after that. So I just finished a $2 million film. And I think I made this new film because I made Social Hygiene before. It gives me the energy.
Bueno, la película te da energía a vos y nos da energía a nosotros también, como todo tu cine, Denis, que muchísimas gracias por todas tus películas y por contarnos que viene una nueva también, a las que vamos a estar muy atentas también, cuando ya se estrene, así que con muchas ganas de verla. Y muchísimas gracias por toda esta conversación en torno a higiene social, que seguramente todo el mundo la está disfrutando tanto como la hemos disfrutado nosotros al momento de poder mirarla y programarla. Gracias por la generosidad en esta conversación también.
Well, it's a pleasure to screen a film in Mar del Plata, and I hope to go one day. I hope to visit you one day, but one day.
Sí, por favor. Eso esperamos, nosotros también. Muchas gracias. Y todo lo mejor con la nueva película.
Gracias.
Adiós.